Hello and welcome to week 26 of Beloved Blackness. I'm Dr. B. So we missed last week. It was my very intention to do an away Beloved Blackness vlog, but I was unable to do so. But I spent part of last week at the Association of Black Psychologists Convention in Orlando, Florida, and had the privilege to present along with a friend and colleague, Dr. Jillian Granum, on Nakumbuka Day ceremony, a community ritual for grieving the Ma'afa. So I've shared with you in the past about the word ma'afa, that the Marimba Ani uses it to describe, and it means, a Kiswahili word that means a great disaster and destruction beyond human comprehension and convention, to capture what people of African descent have experienced in terms of enslavement, the Middle Passage, all of those experiences associated with the systematic dehumanization and terrorization of people of African descent. So one of the ways that is important when we're dealing with collective trauma to be able to actually respond and learn to heal from that trauma is by having experiences that give us space to grieve or to lament. Nakumbuka is a Kiswahili word that means I remember. And so Nakumbuka Day is honored, or it's a day of commemoration on November 11th. And the ceremony is an opportunity to honor our ancestors who have transitioned, as well as to give the community opportunity to lament or grieve or mourn the losses inherent within all of the ways in which we have been tortured, killed, maimed, brutalized through the experience of the Ma'afa. And so the ceremony, what we talked about in our presentation this past week at the Association of Black Psychologists Convention, was the importance of being able to grieve collectively, that as a people, as we've been talking about over the past few weeks in terms of our cultural worldview and kind of the essence of who we are culturally, is we're collectivistic people. And so member to member contact is really important. And so by having the support of other people in the room to be able to grieve is really important part of Nakumbuka Day. And it's really important in terms of healing, in terms of restoring and affirming who we are, in terms of our African sense of selves, to incorporate cultural practices, to reaffirm ourselves, and as a way of also pushing back against being viewed as people without a culture, or people who aren't even people, who are not even fully human, to affirm and say, hey, these are the ways in which we express ourselves, and that these expressions will be used as a tool of healing as well as liberation. So whether it's African dance or drumming or song or storytelling, we incorporate different ways of African practices and different ways of being within the ceremony itself. And during our presentation, we talked about the value of those. And so over the next week, think about ways in which you have been intentional about tending to particular traumas in your life, but most particularly cultural trauma or collective trauma. It could be something as recent as something as important as some recent contemporary instances. It doesn't have to be historical trauma that you reflect on. It can be historical trauma. How do you hold space to lament? How do you hold space to mourn and grieve our ancestors' loss of lives? How do you hold space to grieve and mourn our community's losses? So it can be actual losses of lives. It can be the loss of being able to walk outside and having to think about seeing a police officer and not having other groups who don't have to worry, particularly people from dominant cultural groups, not have to worry or even think about the hypervigilance that develops or comes up when you see an officer given all of the state-sponsored violence that sanctioned violence that we've seen. Think about how you manage these losses and find and try to identify ways that assist you. It could be song, it could be journaling, it could be music, and connect those particular resources to who you are in terms of your cultural essence as a person of African descent. All right, so until next week, bye.